welcome back. Fragrance Fiend here today, bringing Season 2 to an end. If you're a new viewer and just want to check out the Fierce review, click here. Otherwise, if you want to hear a tiny bit more about the brand and my backstory to the scent, then keep watching. Anyway, as a side note, we are bringing Season 2 to an end. We're going into Season 2.5. For Season 1, I reviewed a lot of well-known niche classics, and Season 2 predominantly featured a lot of hidden niche gems. And as a way to wrap up each season, I thought I'd feature a signature scent. Today's, of course, being Fierce by Abercrombie and Fitch. It'll be a tiny bit longer of a video. I've got 4 pages of notes compared to my usual one. So sit back, subscribe, and thank you for watching Season 2 of Fragrance Fiend. So today I have with me the very special Abercrombie & Fitch Fierce, the Eau de Cologne from 2002. I think this was probably a signature scent for all of us at one point. So let's take a tiny bit of a deep dive into one of the most important scents of all time. So the brand itself has a very long history. They were founded in 1892, but really gained a lot of popularity in the 90s and 2000s, where they focused a lot on their preppy casual clothing and their very provocative advertising. But we're not really going to talk about that too much. Then, of course, in 2002, there would be a scent which defined a generation. Was associated with our best memories and for some maybe our worst. It was quite truly the Sauvage of its era. And for those wondering, I truly hate Sauvage, by the way. It's also very well known that the workers would actually spray all the clothing. However, it's been documented that that practice would end in 2017. They'd say you'd walk into Abercrombie & Fitch smelling like yourself and you'd walk out smelling like Fierce. Alongside their provocative advertising and everything else that kind of defined the brand in the early 2000s, all to do with exclusivity. And then, of course, under new ownership, they'd change a lot of other practices as well, which is originally what drove the brand into popularity back then, but marketing has changed. First, let's talk about my personal connection to the scent before we get into the review. So when we last spoke at the end of Season 1, I spoke about Minotaur, the connection I had, and buying my 3rd bottle. That's the first part of a story, but the second part will come another time. It had pretty much encapsulated my whole life until that point. I thought I'd start a new chapter and maybe buy a new fragrance to see if I could have that same effect. What I didn't mention in that Minotaur video is that I was struck with a tiny bit of a choice. Do I continue being associated by the Minotaur scent, which everyone kind of knew me for, or do I venture into something new and exciting? At this point, I truly didn't know a thing about Abercrombie & Fitch. We don't have them in Australia, and I knew nothing about their controversy at the time. I just knew that the scent was quite iconic, a lot of people knew about it, and only 2 stores in the entire state actually stocked it. They're a bit of a specialty all-rounder perfume store. I'm at the counter, I find my Minotaur, which is really exciting. Anyway, they brought over Fierce, which was completely empty. They said I could smell the cap, however, it was likely that it was possibly expired. They had a little smell and they advised me not to, but I was still really curious, and it was quite off-putting. It was an expired bottle, but the staff were very friendly, not pushy at all. They said in a few weeks they'd get more stock in. There was only 1 left at the time, and I thought, I can't even spray it, why would I buy it? Then after bringing up Fierce, an element of joy came from the salesperson, and they mentioned how it was their son's signature scent. Every time he'd go to New York, he'd always stock up and bring it back to Australia, and how the scent brought him so much confidence, and that was all beyond me. It made no sense how a scent could give you confidence. And mentioned how he's not himself unless he leaves the house wearing his Fierce. Another line which I kind of related to, wearing Minotaur. Minotaur was $100, Fierce was about $200, and then I said the same line everybody says, I'll have to think about it and I'll be back. Anyway, around this period I had a bit of an appreciation for VHS and early 2000s nostalgia, even American culture of that era. So I thought, why not? Went back, and I bought Minotaur. So after getting Minotaur, they said I could always put down a deposit and come back if I really wanted to get Fierce, as it was their last one there. Then I thought, why not? I put down $50. I walked around the shopping center for another 20 minutes, almost sweating at the idea of spending almost $300 on fragrance. Something I would do blindly months down the track for even $500 fragrances. So then I thought, why not? Went back, bought it blindly. Then immediately after I left, I went out the store, opened the packaging as fast as I could, and gave it a spray and fell in love. And in all, that pretty much wraps up the second most important fragrance in my journey so far. And you'll hear about the 3rd and almost final chapter of that at the end of Season 3 in December. So let's get into formulations. So over the past 20 years there's been a ton of changes in the regulations and standards of perfume making in the industry itself. Sadly, I never got to smell the original DNA. Anytime there's been a bit of a change with the actual bottle design or the picture, also came a bit of a reformulation too. One of the first documented changes, even though there were probably 1 or 2 before that, was in 2017, where they wanted to be a little more environmentally friendly with ingredients they used. Then around 2022-23, more changes would occur as well. As a lot of people know, they went with the clear bottle, and with that, it's reformulated as well, even though the site actually suggests they never changed anything. When they launched the new edition, you could still buy the original packaging, which they called Fierce Classic or something like that. But after checking on their website today, that's no longer a thing. Maybe in stores you can still buy the original packaging, but you're gonna have to have a bit of a hunt online if you're anywhere else around the world. And for my Australian viewers, if you go to the Abercrombie & Fitch website and try to buy it, it will pop up with Australian prices, but it will not ship to you. So now, let's finally get into the fragrance. So in the top you have fir resin, lemon, cardamom, orange, and petitgrain with a heart of rosemary, lily of the valley, rose, and jasmine, lastly with a base of oakmoss, rosewood, musk, and vetiver. On the official website, it doesn't even tell you the full note breakdown, it just gives you a tiny bit of a gist of what the fragrance is about. So let's give it a spray. Incredible. It just brings back so many memories. So before we break down the scent, brilliant atomizer. I know my videos don't really showcase my atomizers anymore due to my lighting. I'm going to try and fix that. But anyway, the sticker is actually stuck onto the back. It's not within inside the bottle. It won't really peel off though. Other than that basic design, my batch code is 103F. And this one doesn't actually click into place. It just comes on and off, which you'd kind of expect a little more for the price tag, but anyway, do one more spray. So in the opening, it's pretty much the definition of an aquatic scent. It balances that softness and the spiciness from the cardamom very evenly. With a lot of fragrances with a concentration of eau de cologne, which is quite minimal, you'll notice often there's quite an overwhelming scent of alcohol. With this one, surprisingly, you don't get any of that whatsoever. It really just comes off as a fresh fragrance in the opening. A lot of people may be led to believe it's maybe a little more citrusy with that lemon element, but I definitely wouldn't say there's any zest to this fragrance. It's very simple and fresh. Then lastly, in the opening, you got that fir resin. Fir resin really balances that element of freshness, woodiness, and muskiness, and it's really one of the main notes which people fall in love with Fierce for. Then throughout the dry down, I somewhat feel it kind of bypasses some of its heart notes. You do get a hint of lily of the valley and rosemary, but the jasmine and rose are very stripped back, if not detectable at all. Then those base notes creep in really early into the mix. You get that oakmoss, musk, and vetiver, giving Fierce its texture and depth. So in all, to break up that dry down, it's really just that oceanic breeze with that aquatic texture, drying down into a bit of a basic woody, musky scent. Simple as that. But overall, it's just a simple, fresh, masculine scent you can wear anywhere, anytime. A million reasons to like it, and probably even more why a lot of people don't like it. Or at least what it's become. More on that later though. So this one is truly made for those summer vibes. Longevity would be below average if it was a eau de toilette, but for an eau de cologne, it lasts about 4 hours, and typically eau de colognes are not meant to last at all. I often wear this one before I go to the gym, so you'll find when your pulse points heat up. Then of course in the summer heat, that's only going to radiate it even more. So do be strategic with where you spray and how many sprays you do. Don't be afraid to overdo this one. Even though it does project really well for the first 1.5 hours, it will become a bit of a skin scent after that and linger for about 4 hours more. Apparently with the original formulation, it would project like crazy, leave a trail, and last all day, which is such a long time ago you can barely believe that would come from an eau de cologne. Then again, I'd pick this one any day over Mont Blanc Legend or Percival by Parfums de Marly, which have both been said to have a very similar DNA. So that brings us to the newest formulation in the clear bottle. Fierce has finally entered the Australian market at Chemist Warehouse, a reputable chemist, but they also got sued for selling fake Victoria's Secret bottles. So after seeing it behind the glass cabinet, I asked to have a sprayer that I told him I'm very familiar with the scent, and upon first whiff, I was absolutely disgusted, thinking why or how would they ruin such an iconic DNA? Are Chemist Warehouse selling fakes, or is this the new Fierce? So, editing me here, I actually reached out to Abercrombie and Fitch, who forwarded me to their legal department or something like that, and they came back and replied and said that Chemist Warehouse are actually an official retailer for Fierce. So what I did smell was 100% legit. But anyway, back to the video. Then it became everything I hated. The initial spray just smelled like alcohol. On top of that scent of alcohol, there was also this very artificial smooth texture, as if that ingredient was trying to hide the abrasiveness of the actual alcohol. It wasn't even aquatic, it wasn't even musky, it was just nothing. It definitely was not expired as Fierce's new launch in Australia as of this year. So in panic, I immediately left the store and panic bought 200 mils of the DNA that I know. So I truly feel this iconic, timeless classic really does bring the fragrance community together, or sometimes bring them apart, depending on the memories associated with when they used to wear it. Overall, it just really captures that era of a simpler time, even if most of us have moved on by now. So with peace and love, I'm warning you not to try the clear bottle edition. If you can get your hands on anything prior to that, buy it now before it's too late. So I'd love to see your comments come in. When was the first time you ever smelled Fierce? How did you feel? Do you have any special memories with it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Is it overrated? Anyway, nostalgia aside, I simply have to give this scent a 10 out of 10. It's quite possibly one of the only eau de cologne scents I like. I think the timing now is better than ever to be able to finally give us an eau de parfum version, or at least an eau de toilette. Just anything that replicates that original DNA even prior to my bottle. With the countless thousands of fragrances on the market, I feel nobody's really going to have that same story as any of us, where we pick up our first bottle of Fierce and fall in love. It's too far gone. And I feel like I was even the last generation to do so. So anyway, that wraps up season 2. I'll see you in season 2.5, and I may announce a Q&A at 500 subscribers. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.